Truma, makers of the Combi heater and iNet system, are proud to sponsor Practical Caravan TV.
Welcome to Practical Caravan TV, the show all about buying, owning and enjoying your caravan. Now coming up, we're going to take a look at the new Bailey Pegasus Rimini and we'll find out whether the Vauxhall Zafira Tourer cuts it as a tow car. But first, from one funky caravan to another, I've been taking a look at the Eriba Touring GT. This is the Eriba Touring Troll 542. I should probably declare my bias from the outset. I absolutely love it. And that's a slightly illogical sentiment, bearing in mind that it's a 3-berth and I've got a family of 4, and it's a lot more expensive than I can afford for a relatively small caravan. But just look at it, doesn't it look fabulous? It's like the VW campervan of the touring world. I love the detailing of it. I love these little stainless steel handles, the split V windscreen. This one is a GT, so it's got the silver sidewalls, but I even like the standard bobbly white sidewalls you get with the German ones. It's got some lovely detailing throughout. Check out this scissor hinged front locker, which is just a delightful thing. Moving around, we have a step built in, which just pops out. Why doesn't every caravan have that? Neat alloy wheels, again part of the GT pack, and above them, a shelf here so you can fit your inside table outside. This is a caravan that's meant to be used for active outdoor adventuring. And another external locker which gives access to a simply vast storage space. There's another stainless steel grab handle at the back that stretches the full width of the van, and there are details everywhere that will delight the engineer in you, such as the solid door hinges, the pop-up roof mechanism and the wraparound awning rail that means you can pitch your awning wherever you like around the van. I just think it's incredibly cool, and I'm going to have a little look inside and find out a few more things. Now, in a lot of Eribas, you get a big lounge at the back of the van, but in the Troll 542, this is the only seating area, this dinette at the front, which makes it a bit of a squeeze for the supposed 3 people it can accommodate. I suspect the 3rd berth, which is made up of this dinette area, is only going to be used very occasionally, perhaps by a visiting grandchild or something like that. But this is such a charming place to sit. Looking through the little V windscreen at the front, you can just imagine buttoning down the hatches when it's cold and the rain running down the window and just feeling incredibly cosy in here. Although it is a very small van, there's been an amazing amount of space utilisation. So underneath me, there's a little locker, there's a cubby hole tucked into the wall opposite, and there's a good amount of storage underneath both of these seats, although the one on the near side does contain a 30-litre water tank, which, if you specify it, becomes the only freshwater option. Now, to make the bed, you simply drop down this table and slide the cushions down. And as for the space inside, well, standing room at the moment is very low, but as I mentioned earlier, there is a pop-up roof. And to do that, you simply unhook these 2 little latches and push up, and there you have it. Now, as some of you may already know, I mention it quite a lot, I'm 6 foot 3 inches tall, and I actually have got a good inch or so of headroom above me. Around the sides, it's a really heavy duty canvas, which if you're lucky enough to be enjoying an Indian summer, which we're not here today, you can unzip these panels for more ventilation, and there's a mosquito netting behind. There's more neat little storage options up here. There are these lockers that run all the way around the perimeter of the caravan, and they're much deeper than you would think. There's a good amount of space in there. There are a couple of coat hooks on here, and on the door there's even a little built-in spice rack. It's really neat and thoughtful detailing. Now I think we should check out the bathroom. Now, as you might expect, it isn't exactly spacious in here. However, it is a proper washroom. There is a Thetford bench toilet over here, a little sink with a Formica top on this side, and there's plenty of storage. In these cupboards, there are shelves just about everywhere, and some lovely little details like this mirror that rises and falls with the roof as you open it, and a couple of towel rails which could also be used potentially as drying space. It's not the most private bathroom I've ever come across, however, but you will have to excuse me for a moment. Now you're going to have to get pretty good at one pot cooking in this kitchen if you're going to spend a lot of time in an Eriba. Or rather, I should say 2 pots, because there's a 2-burner stove and nothing in the way of an oven or grill. Apart from that though, it is actually a pretty comprehensively equipped kitchen considering its size. The task lighting by these touch sensitive lights is really good. The sink is surprisingly big. There's a worktop extension flap at the end there to give you a bit more workspace. A good sized fridge, which is shallow but pretty good for such a small van. And a large cutlery drawer up the front there. On the other side of the van, you'll find the wardrobe, which is reasonably well sized, although it is foreshortened a bit by having the gas heater underneath it. And there's a couple of sockets. There's one in the lounge, one here in the kitchen, although it's a bit awkwardly sited, and one on top of the wardrobe, which feasibly with the roof popped up, you could even use as a bit of extra storage space. And that just leaves the bedroom. Now, depending on which Eriba you opt for, there's a vast array of options for sleeping. In the Troll 542, you get that single bed up at the front, and at the back here, a cross between fixed twin beds and a double. So your feet are together and your heads are separated, which is probably a good idea if you argue a lot. The beds themselves are enormous, so well over 6 foot, and they're really comfortable. And what a view to wake up to. You've got windows on all sides, giving you a lovely vista. Now, one unique thing about the Eribas is their enormous payloads. This Troll 542 has a payload of 360 kilos. If you've been wondering where on earth you could accommodate all of that gear, well, the answer is pretty simple. Underneath this bed. You lift it up on these heavily sprung bed bases, and there is a massive amount of space underneath. At the beginning, I likened the Eriba to a VW camper, but in a lot of ways that's not really fair. The VW tends to be pretty unreliable, if we're honest with ourselves, and pretty compromised. But the Eriba suffers none of those compromises. It's also beautifully made with a space frame design that makes it incredibly solid and, I'm told, fantastic to tow. Now, like the Volkswagen, it is a true style icon, but unfortunately, just like the camper, it's one you'll have to pay for. The 542 here is the second largest in the range, and it costs a shade under 16,000 quid. At least that's what the list price is. Once you've chucked on the GT pack, as this one has, and a few necessities such as an onboard water tank and a water heater and a few other bits and bobs, and the price for this particular van is over 20 grand. Now, that's an awful lot of money to pay for style, but then it is style with substance. These days, a new caravan range simply isn't complete without a fixed twin berth layout, and the Bailey Pegasus is no exception. It's called the Rimini, it costs a little over £18,000, and it's packed with kit. Built using Bailey's Alutech construction, it comes with alloy wheels, an external 230 volt plug socket, and some pretty natty front windows and graphics. What you won't get, of course, is Alco's ATC trailer control system, which has been deleted for 2016, and although you can see them on the van behind me, it won't come with air conditioning or a motor mover unless you specify them as options. Most of the services are relegated to the offside of the van, apart from the toilet, whose cassette is accessed from the rear wall thanks to Bailey's Alutech design, and the hookup cable, which unfortunately plugs in on the near side, and you'll have to be careful not to trip over it when you've got your awning out. Losing the ATC means Bailey's been able to upgrade the kit inside. It's gone from a Truma Combi 4 heating system to a Truma Combi 6, and in the lounge here it's got the new Dream Sleep system. Now, I slept here last night, so I can vouch for the fact that it is really comfortable. I particularly like these high backrests. They look good and they're really good to sit on. They feel very domestic. I'd rather have a little bit more knee roll underneath, and it could be a little bit wider for a lounge bed, but other than that, it's pretty much ideal. It's finished in the standard upholstery, which is much lighter than the dark option, and I think it suits it much better. Add in the overhead roof light and that lovely big front window, and it's really bright and airy in here. The kitchen design borrows heavily from the flagship Unicorn 3. That means you get a really good sized slimline tower refrigerator on the near side, and over here on the off side you get the rather natty island unit that pushes out into the middle of the van. It creates a good separation between the lounge and the kitchen, and also makes space for a really good sized 3-shelved unit beneath with a neat pull-out cutlery drawer. The worktop above has plenty of space, but should you need more, there's the obligatory pop-up flap. There are plenty of other really nice details in this kitchen. I like the fact that the 4-burner hob with a separate electric hot plate and 3 gas burners, is moved slightly away from the bulkhead, so there's room for your panhandles to one side. And the Truma controller here is mounted so that if you're in the lounge or the kitchen, you can access it without having to stand up or move across the van. And there's 2 sockets, which is great news. It means you can run your kettle and your toaster at the same time. My one quibble really is the fact that the microwave, which is standard kit, is mounted directly above the hob, which isn't ideal if the hob's on and you've got hot plates coming out from up high. Now this bedroom area is the main reason why people will be looking at a Rimini. The advantages of fixed twin berths are pretty well known. For couples, it means you can get up and go to the loo in the night without disturbing each other, and for families they provide real flexibility. You can put the kids down in here to sleep and pull the screen across, and then make up the lounge later on when you've had a glass of wine or your dinner together. The berths themselves are really comfortable. They've got proper mattresses. The one on the near side is plenty long enough for a 6-footer. The one on the off side a little bit shorter, so you'll need to check whether it'll accommodate you both before you buy. There's plenty of storage options here too. There are 6 overhead lockers, 5 of them shelved, and a little open locker which has a TV point to match the one that's up front on the front shelf. There are little shelves and spotlights for reading by at night, and there are other really good storage options underneath the bed. On the near side you'll find a lined locker with external access, the perfect place to put your muddy gear, and there's another one of those up front. On the off side you'll find the storage for the table, which is great news. It means you don't have to traipse into the bathroom, move all your clothes aside and remove it from the wardrobe. It is quite heavy though, so you need to be careful when taking it in and out. The full width end washroom is impressively equipped. There's a massive wardrobe which has a dirty clothes basket beneath and a useful shelf for linens on top. And there's an enormous shower cubicle with LED spotlights and an Eco Camel shower head. The space is perhaps a little bit compromised to be used as a changing room, but there is a blown air outlet in here, so it should get warm quickly enough. My only other issue is that the window isn't frosted, so it does lack a little bit of privacy. Now the Rimini doesn't exactly want for competition in the marketplace. There are plenty of other manufacturers offering this layout, but it does give you quite a lot of luxury at really quite a low price, well undercutting the flagship Unicorn model. It costs a little over 18,000 quid and it weighs in at a very reasonable 1,450 kilos. So if you're on a reasonably tight budget but you don't want to skimp on home comforts, it's definitely well worth a look.
A few years ago, the Vauxhall Zafira Tourer was named Best MPV at the Tow Car Awards. That car was powered by a 1.6 litre diesel engine. We're testing the more powerful 2 litre version with enough poke for serious towing without hurting fuel economy too much. New arrivals have launched since the Zafira Tourer won its award, so does it still deserve a place on your shortlist if you're shopping for a 7-seat tow car?
To find out, we hitched up to a Swift Expression 626 with a mass in running order of 1,413 kilos and put the Vauxhall through all our usual tests. In particular, we were keen to get to know what Vauxhall calls its whisper diesel.
The engine is one of the Zafira Tourer's strengths. With 295 pounds-feet of torque, there's bags of pulling power. We towed the Swift from 30 to 60 miles per hour in 13.3 seconds. If anything, the engine's refinement is even more impressive. It really is very quiet.
The engine promises good economy too. The official combined figure is 57.7 mpg, and we achieved a creditable 28.6 mpg towing on A roads and motorways.
The Zafira Tourer is a very stable tow car. At the legal limit, it simply goes where it's pointed, with very little need for steering corrections from the driver.
Only in strong crosswinds did the Vauxhall start to wander a little. In the lane change test, the Zafira also put in a solid performance. On the very fastest runs there was some pushing and shoving from the Caravan, but we never felt close to losing control. It's a comfortable tow car as well as a stable one, smoothing over all but the worst lumps and bumps in the road surface. Inside, the Zafira Tourer has 7 seats in a practical, well thought out cabin. The dashboard is solidly screwed together, although some of the controls could be easier to fathom. There are lots of similar looking buttons. Those in the front and middle of the car have lots of room to get comfortable. Seats 6 and 7 are rather cramped though, unless those sat in the middle slide their seats forward to allow a little more legroom. Like most seven-seaters, the Zafira Tourer has little luggage room with every seat occupied, but with the third row folded away, there's plenty of space for holiday bags.
Maybe the Zafira Tourer has passed under your radar. It looks rather anonymous, which doesn't help. But with the 170 PS diesel engine, it's a very strong tow car. What's more, it's a stable and practical one too.
Located in Chickerell on the historic Dorset coast near Weymouth, Bagwell Farm Touring Park is open all year and offers breathtaking views out to sea. The attractive park is quiet, with restrictions on noise at night time, yet boasts an impressive level of facilities, including a children's play area, a laundrette, a large dog exercise area, a shop and an off-licence. If you fancy eating on site, you'll receive a warm welcome at the Red Barn Bar and Grill. It's open during the high season and at selected times in spring and autumn, and serves good home-cooked food.
Welcome to Bagwell Farm Touring Park. We're open all year and cater for tents, caravans and motor vans on Dorset's Jurassic coastline. On the park we've got the usual toilet and shower facilities. We've also got bathrooms, laundry room, bar and takeaway. We've also got a very well stocked shop that's open all day. There's a children's playground and some animals that you can meet. Two of the goats have a guard goose, Gregory, who thinks he's a goat too, and will protect those two girls from all of the other goats. We're about 5 miles outside Weymouth with its glorious sandy beach, and we're actually overlooking the Chesil Bank. Parts of the site do have a view across the Chesil Bank and the Fleet Lagoon. Any part of the coastline you can go along to the iconic Durdle Door, and Lulworth Cove is very rugged and beautiful. We've got many different pitches you can book, anything from a standard pitch, which is just grass, semi-service with electric hookup. We've got plus pitches that have a shared water tap on the edge, and we've got the service pitches, full hard standing, double width for your caravan and awning, nice and dry in the winter. They've also got 16 amp electric hookup, their own water tap and a grey waste drain and even a TV hookup. The X53 bus stop is just half a mile from the park, and there's a route along a footpath to get there. That route runs all the way from Exeter in the west through to Poole in the east. Top tips, bring your bird spotting books. There's lots and lots of birds and wildlife around the park. We've got a board in reception, and your challenge is to spot a species that we haven't already got written down. When you're booking a pitch, it's probably good to explain to the receptionist what sort of pitch you like. Don't just assume that the super pitch is best for you because it's one of the top price ones. Explain that you like a sea view, or whether you like to be quieter or away from anybody else. Just tell us what you need and we'll try to match.
The 320 touring pitches are large, with the option of a fully serviced pitch should you want to relax, and there are wash blocks with accessible facilities for the disabled. Staff here are friendly and helpful, and if you fancy extending your stay, there are seasonal pitches and storage options available, plus a rally field should you decide to want to come with friends. In 2015, Adria celebrated its 50th anniversary. Now, a year on, those celebrations are still going on. To mark the fact, it's launched 2 new caravans, the brand new Eden and this, a special edition version of the Isonzo, or to be more precise, the Adria, Adora, Isonzo 613 DT Silver Collection. Now, as the name suggests, the Silver Collection is silver, which does tie it in more closely with the range-topping Estella line. And it also brings with it masses of kit. In fact, if you totted up the extras on this caravan, it should cost around £3,200 more than the standard Isonzo. But in fact, it's only £1,000 more list price at a little over £19,000, which seems like phenomenal value for money. It looks pretty fantastic as well. I've got the odd quibble about the exterior here. Those steady winder bolts are going to be pretty hard to reach, but otherwise it's a fine looking caravan, and there's masses of kit on it. Particularly, and this is quite special for the Adora, there's Aldi wet central heating inside. As soon as you step aboard this caravan, you realise just how wide it is. I mean, these sofa bases are pretty deep and, I have to say, very comfortable, but I can still stretch my legs right out, even touching the other sofa. That's great. This lounge is largely unchanged from the standard Isonzo, apart from, of course, silver upholstery and silver curtains. Otherwise, it's a nice space to be in. We've got that huge sunroof overhead, 3 windows at the front, and on this example, no front chest.
There's an extra seat there and a little fold-up table. One other change for 2016 in the lounge area is underneath the sofa cushions. These bed boxes have got proper sprung beech slats in them now, and of course you've got to pull them out to meet in the middle to make up an enormous front double bed. If you're more a fan of IKEA than a traditional English country kitchen, then this galley is for you. It really is a lovely, clean, logical design. I really like the fact that you get huge great drawers and large cupboards above. In the main, it's unchanged from the 2015 Isonzo. However, there are a couple of crucial differences. For a start, there's this enormous slimline tower refrigerator. That also makes space for more countertop, which means more worktop, and the oven and grill, which were formerly mounted up here, possibly dangerously high, have been moved to a much more traditional location underneath the hob. The hob itself, if I just remove this drainer, is the classic 3-in-line Adria affair, which drains directly into the stainless steel sink. Always a useful detail. On the other side of the Caravan, we've got a colossal domestic style wardrobe, shelved down one side with masses of hanging space and room for your shoes underneath. Really, really practical, particularly if you're going to spend a long time in the van. And just to the side of it, I always like to see this, the table mounted right by where it's actually going to be needed. Thank you very much, Adria. Go around any Caravan show, take a look at all the transverse island bed models, and they're pretty much of a muchness. A fairly narrow bed that's also fairly short, with a his and hers wardrobe on either side and a neat little dressing table in one corner. But not the Isonzo. It is a transverse island bed layout, as you can see, because I'm sitting on it, but it really doesn't work in the same way. That enormous wardrobe that we saw earlier means that you don't need those piddly little his and hers wardrobes on either side of the bed, and instead you get a rather nice little dressing table, ideal for your mug of tea, several books, whatever you like, a few toiletries perhaps. There's a couple of drawers beneath too, and each side gets a reading light. The bed is also much, much bigger than you would expect in this type of layout. However, there is the odd drawback to that. There isn't room for the dressing table. But because of this van's huge width, it's actually 2.45 metres wide, it doesn't need to be retractable, so there's plenty of room to get around the foot of the bed to make the access easier. Also, being an Adria, it's got the rather nice touch of these little prop-up backs, so if you like to sit and read during the day on the bed, it's a comfortable place to do it. Another unusual feature is that there's a window on either side of the bed, one at the head, one at the foot. Some people might prefer a traditional headboard, but it does fill the room with light. Just like the kitchen, however, there's only one plug socket. The washroom takes its styling cues from Big Brother Estella. It's a very smart place to be. The shower doesn't have a one-piece moulded liner, but of course it's waterproof, and there's some neat lighting options in there. There's a low-set, transparent bowl sink, plus a frosted window, and a rather neat built-in chromed loo brush. This van is plated at 1,750 kilos, so you are going to need a pretty big tow car to pull it. However, that aside, there's very few criticisms to be made about this van. With a transverse island bed layout, generally there are plenty of compromises, but you just can't say that with the Isonzo. It does work particularly well inside. Chuck in all of that extra kit with the silver collection, and it makes it a very appealing package at an even more appealing price. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Next week, we're going to be testing the new Skoda Superb, dropping in on Bufchew Valley campsite, and taking a look at 2 Caravans from each end of the Swift portfolio. Until then, bye-bye.
Truma, makers of the combi heater and iNet system, are proud to sponsor Practical Caravan TV.